There was more to Nina Simone than simply being a music queen. She was the renowned voice behind the song I Put a Spell on You. Throughout her life, she experienced both victories and tragedies. With that being said, what exactly was going on behind closed doors? As Nina passed away, what secrets did she take with her? Watch this video as we investigate the terrible discoveries that have now come to light regarding Nina's daughter and the occurrences that have occurred throughout Nina's life. Early life. To comprehend the complexities of the artist and the rumors that surround her, it is necessary to take a look at her early life, which was a period that was characterized by both tremendous skill and significant difficulties. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's take a look at his early life and musical beginnings. Eunice Kathleen Wayman was Nina's birth name when she entered the world on the 21st of February 1933. She was the sixth of 8 children in a family that was very close to each other. Through the leadership of John Devine and Mary Kate, the Waymans were able to establish a family that was deeply rooted in the beat of music. When Nina was a young child, she was constantly exposed to melodies, harmonies, and the sounds that are prevalent in everyday life. Nina had already established herself as a regular member of the family's church by the time she was just 6 years old, and she played the piano there regularly. She was able to differentiate herself from her siblings by being exposed to music at a young age and having a natural love for playing the piano. During these formative years, fate intervened in the shape of Mrs. Miller, a white woman for whom Nina's mother had begun working as a housekeeper. Mrs. Miller turned out to have a significant influence on Nina's life. The tremendous potential of the little girl was immediately recognized by Mrs. Miller, who also saw that it required a level of nurture that was beyond the realm of what the family could afford. The beginning of Nina's official musical instruction was provided by Muriel Masinovich, an English woman who resided in Tryon with her Russian painter husband. Nina has been studying music ever since. When Nina was entering her teenage years, her skill and the effort that she had put in started to pay off. She was awarded a scholarship to attend the famous Juilliard School of Music in New York City that she received during her senior year in high school. This scholarship was meant to be the first step on a road that had been meticulously laid out to achieve a professional career as a concert pianist. Nina had the intention of utilizing her time at Juilliard to get ready for the next incredibly important step, which was to get accepted into the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia, which is widely regarded as one of the most prestigious music institutions in the United States. But life had other things in store for us. The application that Nina submitted to the Curtis Institute was denied, even though she had been working hard and had made significant progress. The reason that was provided was that her performance on the piano did not match the needed standard. Nonetheless, Nina felt that this explanation was lacking something important. The rejection was a crushing blow, not only because it disturbed her carefully prepared plans, but also because it seemed to undercut all she had sacrificed for her ambition throughout her life. As Nina's consciousness began to develop, she began to have the sense that her rejection was driven by racial preferences. As a result of the failure of her plans to become a concert pianist, Nina found herself at a fork in the road. Because her family had migrated to Philadelphia, she was unable to attend the Curtis Institute. Therefore, she was forced to find an alternative means of financial assistance. While she was attempting to figure out what her next step would be, she started teaching piano lessons to others and sharing her skills with them. When she was going through this period of uncertainty, she had a fortuitous chat with one of her pupils, which led her down a route that she had not anticipated. Even though he was a lowly student, one of her students suggested that he would be earning more money than Nina if he played the piano in a club in Atlantic City during the summer. Nina's life took a dramatic shift as a result of this revelation. Now that she was aware that she might make a livelihood by playing at a bar, she decided to follow in her footsteps. On the other hand, there was a significant barrier in the form of her highly devout mother, who would never permit her daughter to work in such an atmosphere. Thus, Nina devised a brilliant solution to the problem. Under a stage name, she performed. The name Nina was derived from an ex-boyfriend who had fondly referred to her as her little girl. On the other hand, the name Simone was borrowed from the French actress Simone Signore, whom Nina liked. Nina Simone was born as a result of this. Her very first professional engagement was at the Midtown Tavern and Grill, a little Irish tavern that was situated only a few blocks away from the boardwalk in Atlantic City. During the summer of 1954, this unpretentious setting provided Nina with the opportunity to begin the process of developing her distinctive musical character. 6 hours a night, with only a 15-minute break every hour, she played the piano for a diverse range of bar guests. Her performance lasted for the whole night. Nina inspired her performance by drawing from her extensive collection of hymns, gospel tunes, and classical pieces, and she improvised as she went along. Personal struggles. The compelling stage presence and ardent political activity that marked Nina Simone's public persona were the result of a complicated and sometimes stormy personal life that took place behind the scenes. When Nina was 28 years old, she tied the knot with Andy Stroud, a tough and business-oriented individual who had previously served as a police officer. In a short amount of time, Stroud became not only her husband, but also her manager, and the two of them went on to have a daughter together named Lisa. On the other hand, their marriage was most certainly not a fairy tale. Nina found herself caught in a vicious circle of violence and control as a result of Stroud's aggressive behavior behind the scenes, which included both physical and emotional abuse. After some time had passed, Nina disclosed that Stroud had treated her like a workhorse, concentrating on her professional achievements while ignoring her health and well-being. His jealousy was intense, and on one occasion, it escalated to a horrifying episode in which he raped her, threatened her with a pistol, and violently beat her after he saw her talking to a fan after a performance. The connection that Nina had with Stroud had a significant impact on her mental health, and the strain of being continually pushed to work finally led to her reaching a point when she broke down. It was in 1967 when Nina encountered what she would later identify as her first significant breakdown. She was on tour with Bill Cosby at the time. The occurrence took place when Andy discovered her in her dressing room, where she was concentrating on her appearance in the mirror while putting brown makeup on her hair. It was an obvious indication that Nina's mental condition was worsening since she was attempting to make herself the same color all over. She claimed to be Grandma Moses and talked about seeing visions of laser beams and paradise through her speech, which was completely incomprehensible. During the latter half of the 1,960 seconds, Nina encountered a particularly difficult period. She was left feeling disillusioned and devastated as a result of the standstill in the civil rights struggle, as well as the personal betrayals she faced from people who were closest to her. Nina was under the impression that the entire world was conspiring against her, and this overpowering feeling of being persecuted brought her to the verge of breaking down. The year 1969 was the year that Nina chose to withdraw to Barbados, abandoning Andy and their daughter, Lisa. The choice to leave was not just a departure from the physical world, but also from the emotional world. Nina's decision to quit her cherished father came at a particularly terrible time. She had overheard him boast about having maintained the family, but in reality, it was her mother who had been the one who had kept them afloat. Nina renounced her father and informed him that he was no longer her father, since she felt that she had been deceived once more. As he lay on his deathbed, she remained steadfast in her commitment to her pledge and refused to visit him. Instead, Nina performed in Washington, District of Columbia, on the day of his funeral. She sang a song that she had recently written about him, and the song finished with the heartbreaking lyrics, "When he passed away, I smoked and drank all day, by oneself." Once more, without a doubt, throughout the 1,970 seconds and 1,980 seconds, Nina's life proceeded to descend into a state of complete and utter catastrophe. It is around this time that her autobiography, titled "I Put a Spell on You," becomes increasingly chaotic and disconnected, which is a reflection of the trauma that she went through before. A significant portion of the book is devoted to the men who she felt had the potential to save her life. Nevertheless, it is notable that it does not discuss the affairs that her family and friends assert she had with other women. Nina described herself as Earl Barrow's prostitute and referred to him as her pasha throughout the period that she was connected with him. Earl Barrow was the Prime Minister of Barbados. Later, she relocated to Liberia with Lisa, where she embraced a life of hedonism and wild freedom. Lisa was her companion. It was at one party when Nina famously stripped nude and danced for 2 hours while being fueled by champagne. This event served as the inspiration for her happy song African Calypso. On the other hand, her visit to Liberia was not well received by people everywhere. Al Shackman, her musician, said that the locals could not tolerate her, particularly her maids, who found her conduct insufferable. This is according to the man who played her guitar. Nina's behavior got increasingly antagonistic and unstable throughout these 25 years. When she interacted with her audience, she frequently engaged in contentious exchanges, and she was known to react unexpectedly. The fact that she used a knife to force a fan out of a concert in Casablanca is a strong sign of the fact that she is becoming increasingly unstable. However, even at the most difficult times of her life, Nina was able to find some measure of comfort in the company of other people who were aware of her hardships. During one of these moments, which took place during a performance in New York, her longtime friend James Baldwin assisted her in getting through a very challenging play. Baldwin stepped out and sat with Nina on stage, softly urging her to continue singing as song after song fell apart. Nina was grumbling about the mics and lighting, and Baldwin wanted to address her concerns. A few of Nina's more severe and problematic behaviors occurred during the decade of the 1,980 seconds. After some time had passed, Nina acknowledged that she had attempted to fire the executive but had been unsuccessful. She aimed at and injured the boy of her neighbor 10 years later, in 1995, while she was living in France. Her focus was disrupted by his laughter, which caused her to become distracted. Nina made the mistake of interpreting his reaction to her concerns as a racist slur. As a result of this event, she was sentenced to 8 months in jail. However, the sentence was suspended awaiting a mental diagnosis and therapy. She subsequently received a diagnosis of bipolar illness, which was a disease that explained a significant portion of her behaviors that were unpredictable and explosive. The fact that she was administered medicine beginning in the middle of the 1,960 seconds was only known to a select few of her closest friends and those who were responsible for her care. It was discovered after Nina's passing that she had been taking the antipsychotic medication, which her friends and caregivers had occasionally incorporated into her food when she refused to take it herself. This particular facet of her life was kept secret from the general public until 2004, when a biography with the title Break Down and Let It All Out was published after her death. Janice Ian, a singer-songwriter who was formerly Nina's friend, related some incidents that demonstrated Nina's erratic behavior when she was younger. In one incident, Nina used a revolver to threaten a cashier at a shoe store and demanded that she return a pair of sandals that she had previously worn once. There was another instance in which Nina requested that Ian pay her a royalty for recording one of her songs. When Ian would not comply with her demand, Nina became so angry that she pulled a pay telephone out of its wall. At the beginning of the 1,980 seconds, Nina's life had reached a point of no return. It was difficult for her to make ends meet even though she was living in a cramped flat in Paris. A biographer by the name of Alan Light claims that Nina would place herself on the sidewalk in front of several nightclubs located in the Latin Quarter and invite people who were walking by to come inside and see her perform. Even though it was a long cry from the heights of her career, Nina continued to perform. Being motivated by her need to connect with an audience, she persisted in performing even when the conditions were extremely difficult. Nina ultimately started the process of rebuilding her profession, despite the significant obstacles that she had to overcome. As a means of managing her mental condition, she began taking medicine, which assisted in bringing her to a state of relative stability. However, she continued to be volatile and emotional, and she was always conscious of the fact that her feelings were frequently beyond her ability to control. The speculations. The allegations that have been circulating about Nina Simone and her tumultuous relationship with her daughter Lisa have been a source of fascination and conjecture for a considerable amount of time. There have been rumors going about for years about tension, conflict, and a problematic mother-daughter interaction. These rumors have painted a picture that is far different from the idealized vision of family life. As stated by Lisa Simone Kelly, the daughter of the famed performer Nina Simone, the turbulent personal life and unpredictable conduct of her mother have been the topic of intense curiosity and gossip for a considerable amount of time. The relationship between Lisa and Nina was revealed to be a complicated and sometimes tense one. It was characterized by periods of tremendous attachment, as well as periods of terrible hurt and betrayal. Melissa disclosed this information. In her recounting of a particularly distressing event that occurred on her 16th birthday, Lisa related how Nina had given her a letter expressing her desire that Lisa had never been born. During that time, I was with my aunt, as Lisa said before. There was no response from me. The person who became enraged was my aunt. I would want to know why you are so furious. This is a typical occurrence. Lisa stated that her most joyful recollections were of the time when she was a little girl and she was playing in Nina's bedroom. She would try on her mother's wigs and high heels as she was surrounded by the music that filled their home. Whenever we were playing music, whether it was hers, Miriam Makeba's, or Otis Redding's, I would sing and dance with myself in that mirror in her bedroom. Lisa noted that we were constantly playing music. For a little girl, it was like heaven on earth. However, Lisa revealed that her picture-perfect upbringing was broken when Nina's marriage to Andy Stroud, Lisa's father, began to crumble. Her was the beginning of the end for everything. She said that the divorce of her parents, which occurred when she was only 8 years old, brought about a significant change in her mother's conduct. She stated that the anger that had been building up under the surface surfaced to the surface more prominently. As Lisa mentioned, she was going through the grief that comes with a painful divorce, and she also lost the basis of her business, which is a significant amount of loss. This raw emotional condition expressed itself in Nina becoming physically violent towards Lisa, and Lisa claimed that she internalized the trauma, unwilling to give her mother the gratification of seeing her suffering. Lisa also disclosed that Nina had been physically abusive towards Lisa. As Lisa explained, if you expressed to your mother that you were experiencing pain, she would take advantage of the situation. There were many things that I got numb to. Lisa even started to wonder whether Nina, who may have perceived her daughter's maturity as a form of competition, had been intimidated by Lisa's process of maturing into a young lady and growing up. According to Lisa, Nina's conduct grew increasingly unpredictable and even aggressive as her personal life sank into disarray, which began with her escape to Barbados and later extended to Liberia. She thinks that Nina's undetected instance of bipolar illness, which remained untreated for several years, was most likely the cause of these outbursts. It was reported by Lisa that the distance that existed between her and her mother got deeper as Nina's mental health deteriorated, and that she effectively severed communication with her mother for several years while she was in her late teens. Lisa stated that she had considered the possibility of not continuing to live at this period. She was under the impression that she would not be able to survive if she went back to Switzerland to be with her deceased mother. The only way that Lisa was able to be dissuaded from carrying out this desperate deed was because of the involvement of a companion of the family. Unfortunately, Lisa stated that the harm done to their friendship was permanent, since Nina and Lisa did not communicate with each other very much in the years that followed. The visit was tinged with an undertone of discomfort, as Lisa secretly delighted in her mother's evident anger at her decision to join the Air Force rather than pursue further education even after Nina shocked Lisa by showing up at her graduation. Lisa noted that the encounter was tinged with an undercurrent of unease. It was not until Lisa was in her mid-20s that Nina extended an invitation to her to play as an opening act at the Royal Albert Hall. Lisa claims that this was the moment when the two began to fully reconcile with one another. Even at that time, Lisa stated that her mother continued to be the epitome of a diva. She refused to watch Lisa's set and prohibited her daughter from viewing her performance, which Lisa swiftly disregarded. These complications were pushed to the forefront once more as a result of the controversy that surrounded the biopic Nina, which was released in 2016 and starred Zoe Saldana. The reason Lisa was so loud about her displeasure with the movie was not because of Saldana's performance. Rather, it was because the story that the movie depicted was not even close to being accurate because it was not based on her mother's life. The fact that the movie focused on a fictitious love relationship between Nina and her manager, Clifton Henderson, was especially disturbing for Lisa, who was aware of the reality of their relationship. Although Henderson was a personal buddy, he was not a love partner. Henderson was a gay man. An outrage was raised when it was announced that Zoe Saldana, an actress with a lighter complexion, would be playing Nina. This decision touched on the profound themes of race and representation that were at the core of Nina's existence. Lisa made it quite apparent that the guilt was with the filmmakers who chose to present a tale that was not genuine to Nina's life, although part of the criticism was aimed at Saldana. It was not Saldana's performance that Lisa found to be the major problem. Rather, it was the fact that the movie itself was based on a story that was not true. Put your in the comment section and hit that subscribe button for all the latest videos. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next videos.